In this video, I 1v1'd a former professional Arsenal player and a living legend. This is Tristan, also known as GTKboy, and the best Arsenal player that I know of. I messaged him about a week ago asking to 1v1 him. I felt like I had really improved my Arsenal skills over the months ever since I got embarrassed by Jeffrey last year. I felt like it was my time, and I was finally ready to take on Tristan. No offense to Jeffrey, but I feel like Tristan is just a bit of a step up in skill from him. So I wanted to challenge the peak of my powers against this Arsenal alien. Plus, Jeffrey ran away from the rematch for unknown reasons. He's scared of me. To give more context onto who this guy is, we have to go back to 2020. He was the top Arsenal player in our friend group. His footage speaks for itself, but he was mentioned in some old videos that we used to make on a very ancient YouTube channel, and I found some shocking information. In one of the descriptions of an old video, I noted that Tristan apparently took on a 1v6 and beat them all, when each of them were around the same skill as Dice. In case you didn't know, Dice was a guy who had previously beaten me on a 1v1 in the channel. The score was 27-14 at one time in Dice's favor, but I made a really big comeback as he got stuck on a deagle, but he still won 32-29. So Tristan practically beat 6 players at the same time, each individually being allegedly just as good as Dice, who nearly finished me before I could reach 15 points. I have no memory of this 1v6, but it still terrifies me how it could actually be true. So, by all accounts, this should mean that I'm gonna get destroyed. But the thing is, Tristan hadn't played for a year. He messaged me back, and we planned to have it on Saturday, August 16th at 8 a.m. I was probably averaging waking up at around 12 to 1 p.m., so it was pretty intimidating, as embarrassing as it was. But I wasn't going to reject a possible fix to my sleeping schedule, so I accepted the 1v1. Now, I trained a lot over the week before the fight. I tried out Aim Stars, an aim training game on Roblox. I grinded out public servers on Arsenal, and I ran around 5 1v1s per day with my friends to improve aim, game sense, and overall skill. I turned one of these 1v1 scuffles into an actual video, which was uploaded a few days ago. Now, not only did I sharpen my aim, but I took the time to study Tristan's Arsenal playing style. Yes, I'm a 15-year-old studying about my friend's Arsenal playstyle more than I do at school. I was dead serious on this 1v1. I wanted to win more than anything. Having his name on my Arsenal resume would be my greatest win, and I would have been the only one out of my friends that I know of to have beaten this man in an Arsenal 1v1. Yes, of course he hadn't played for a year. He told me himself. But that just gave me more confidence I could defeat this guy. He was washed, hadn't played for a year, and I was still at my best. Since 2021, of course. My game sense was at an all-time high. I wanted to absolutely steamroll through him. So I got to work, studying the little footage I had from an old Arsenal ranking video of a friends that I made. Dice, I'm sorry I put you way too low. I was able to analyze Tristan's playstyle. I interpreted his playstyle as a switch aimer picker. Stay with me, guys, I have a point. Basically, the switch aim derives from how he can switch so easily from offense to defense. I was inspired by the switch hitter boxing style, which is when a boxer alters from orthodox to southpaw fighting style to keep their opponents always having to adapt. Tristan adapts the switch aimer role perfectly as he plays mainly defensive, but he knows when to switch it up and go aggressive. The picker part comes from how strategically he picks which aim style to go off of. Also, notice here how he decided to go close range with the Dragunov to the Webley because the Webley's at the first kill, even though he didn't fire any bullets yet. He chose to go first because he probably knows that the Webley does 60 damage at far range and the Dragunov only does 45, so he chose to go in close. As he would get a better shot, and he knows he has better aim than the other person, judging by how he's 4 kills ahead. So he was confident in his ability to go in close range since he knew he had a better chance of killing him. I noticed how he likes to rush in when he's struggling to get off his gun, as you can see here. He changes his locations, sometimes moving laterally, but always pushing forward slightly, because he wants to get into their rhythm more as he gets closer to his opponent. He also often moves into the lane of fire, not scared to exchange an action, making him sound on paper a stylistic dream that displays a very clear target to fire at as he goes right into the lane of fire. This is until you realize that out-aiming Tristan is downright impossible. Also, he uses his line of fire target baiting method as a trick to get in your head, making you work harder than him. Am I over-exaggerating his Arsenal playstyle and taking things way too seriously for a kid's game? Probably, but this was my best chance at winning, because I was overestimating how complex his playstyle is. At least I thought. To counter his style, I wrote that I had to somehow disrupt his rhythm, not letting him get the distance that he prefers, and using reaction time and good movement to counter when he decides to rush in. When he's in his passive mode, I can't become reckless like I did against Jeffrey. I know he's way out of his prime, but I firmly believe that he would still be able to kill me the second I peek even an inch out of me out of safety. So, I ended the night of August 15th with a really nice 1v1. My aim was on point, I landed really clean headshots, and I was able to get some kills without being seen, showing how I improved my movement in Arsenal, encountering camping locations, like the 2 roofs. I slept only 2 hours the night before because I was genuinely like so hyped for this 1v1. Because, you know, biggest 1v1 of my career and something else. Then August 16th came, I woke up at 7 a.m., 1 hour before the 1v1. I took a shower to wake me up, and then I got in one last quick 1v1 to warm myself up. Then Tristan came online. Oh, Tristan joined.
Hello?
What's up,
Hello?
man?
Hello? Hello?
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
So yeah, besides the awkward tension at the beginning, we got the 1v1 going. I didn't want to record because it drops my FPS slightly, so there's barely any footage of the 1v1. I recorded the first minute of it to test the waters before realizing that was a terrible idea. I asked my friend to record, but after a minute he left the server to go play an anime game. So there's barely any footage, but I'll do my best to use the clips to explain what happened in the 1v1. They're funny though. Oh, Tristan joined the server. I haven't seen that in a long time. Alright.
Good luck out there. I believe in you.
We're going now?
Oh.
Oh, my
Okay.
volume.
Alright.
Alright, let's go. Alright, let's go.
Yeah, if you want to.
I'm on 200 ping, so don't expect too much.
Oh, you're already shooting at me, bro. I wanted to use Sandtown because that was my best map, and I felt like I knew a lot of jumps and tricks that Tristan didn't know. So I would be able to just use my good movement and be able to counter him. Because I just assumed his game sense was completely gone. It was his weakest attribute because he hadn't played in a year. But it turns out muscle memory is a real thing, and these tricks on the map that completely took me off guard. I expected him to be, you know, worse because of the 1 year layoff, but then I remembered, oh yeah, this is Tristan. The reminder of him being level 50 really helped on his card when he killed me. I was getting really hesitant at the start of the 1v1. The first kill, I started out with the game plan that I used to counter his switch aimer picker style thing that I made up. I tried baiting him near my spawn since there were a lot of hiding spots to use. I've used them to counter really good Arsenal players before, like Ian, as shown here. Yes! Oh. But he wasn't pushing. This was half expected as he is normally a defensive player. But I just didn't expect that that would come from his 2021 footage. He was still like the same player. So I moved around, stayed to the walls of the map, keeping a brief idea of his location on the roof, and staying out of his range. I eventually pushed when I felt confident and managed to land a good shot with a machine gun. Oh, okay. Lucky shot. The game plan had worked for the first kill, so I was planning to use that for the rest of the 1v1. However, it slightly fell through shortly after. He managed to move to the canopy and got a clean shot on me because I was peeking out, trying to get him with the grease gun. However, it has a slow fire rate and was never going to be able to out DPS a machine gun. This was when I realized how good he still was. He was smart to be on the next kill by going to a risky spot on the ground to hit me on the roof. You normally go on the other roof to try and match the other player in like height and everything, but he chose the less common route, which again caught me off guard because I was aiming for the other roof. Then he went to the roof to finish the job when he got good damage on me, and I got very desperate and I jumped off the roof, allowing his bullets to perfectly capture my head.
Oh, you played over.
Oh my! This reaction perfectly displays how I felt during the start of the 1v1. I had it styled down, I just didn't have the skill to start my strategy. But I wasn't about to have a nervous breakdown and let him farm kills on me because he surprised me. No, I'm James, I'm Cobra, I'm Stumancy, I'm Cobra Albert. I need to show him that I'm the real deal. This 3-2 score is where the first recording ended, so I could get a better FPS. But more of the same followed after. He kept surprising me, landed more shots, leading to a score of 9-4 where I ended up on the Springfield rifle. This next recording encapsulates a lot of what happens in the rest of the 1v1. As you see, I've learned from the mistakes that I made earlier in the 1v1, and I finally started implementing the plan. The Springfield rifle is a gun I struggled to get off of a lot. Especially when he had the bare red, I had to think of something to counter it before he could get even more ahead on the score. He obviously went to the roof, where he has a huge advantage with the scoped and sniper. I was on the other roof in the safe spot, thinking of a way to counter. I assumed he wasn't going to move from the roof towards me, because he'd be more in danger of my rifle, which one-shots up close. I walked out of the save point to pinpoint exactly where it was on the roof, which gave me only a short window of time to see his location and try to adjust. He was on the far side of the roof, trying to gain more distance as I played into his favor. I quickly crouched to avoid getting beheaded by that thing, which worked and allowed him to miss the first shot. This gave me slightly more time to think about how I should counter that far spot on the roof. I moved up and down the wing twice to get out of his range and intentionally misfired to distract him from my next move. After the trap was set, I moved down to the building, which allowed a more prominent safe zone from a sniper and allowed me to get closer to him on the roof. This building protects me from both areas of the rooftop, so if he moved to the main area, then I would be able to see it coming before I completely peek out and expose myself to the far side. I mainly use a straightforward path to the far area of the roof, so I could have a potential to land a clear near shot on him. I also had to be very shaky in my movement so I wouldn't recklessly be caught with the Barrett, because his aim is on point, so I had to be very careful. As you can see from the point of view, which shows both of our locations visibly, I had a clear shot on the bridge between both areas of the roof where no hiding spots were present. This was a very good opportunity to catch him on the bridge if he was maneuvering between both areas of the roof. And luckily enough, he was standing there on the bridge, so I took my shot. However, we both played very defensively here. He was close enough to the hiding spot on the far roof to avoid my close shot, and I was close enough to behind the building to avoid his Barrett. We were both hesitant to capitalize on the opportunity, as he was likely adapting to my change of location, and I had to counter a sniper with a scope. Now, a full 10 seconds goes by. This 10 seconds was just full of us readjusting our positions, trying to predict where the other had gone. I was behind the building, trying to see around the corners if he had moved, and if I could catch up to see him move. When I wasn't peeking, Tristan swiftly moved to the main side of the roof, likely seeing how it's harder for me to shoot it around the building at him on that side of the roof. I moved to the straightforward path, taking pre-fire, not realizing he had switched. But this accidentally lured him over to the straightforward path, where he heard my shot, and while I was busy adjusting and looping around the path that led easier to the main area of the roof. This allowed me to catch him off guard. However, I made a huge mistake. I had lots of opportunities to fire at him, as he was dead focused on the main path while I was on the looping around path. However, it was hard to see which way his direction was in, and it was a tricky shot to make anyway. If I missed, I was surely done for. So I moved back to behind the building. Once I realized my mistake, I rushed back, but Tristan already knew what I was planning. After we traded shots trying to catch the other, I moved back to my straightforward path, predicting that Tristan would move to the far roof. But by now, he had likely learned that the main roof is a far better vantage point against my current position in the areas I can run to. So it was likely that he was going to stay there for the rest of it. The main area of the roof to the right gives him the bridge to readjust his position early, a half wall to hide behind, and pretty much a way to escape in any direction. This is now trickier for me to counter his Barrett. When I peeked out the second time, he was hiding behind the wall reloading. I panicked that I couldn't see him from that angle, so I went back to the side of the building to see where he had gone, not knowing that he was still there. Then, Tristan went back to the bridge leading to the far side of the roof. Huge moment to capitalize on that. He was trying to get a better shot at the straightforward path, now pushing forward slightly, even if barely. This is like how I predicted. He reloaded when he was hiding behind the wall. This likely sprung from when he ran out of ammo. He was getting more desperate. He still somewhat resembled the old style that I interpreted him as back as in 2021. He pre-fired in my direction before reaching the more accessible spot on the far side of the roof. This was when I had revealed myself to him, ready to capitalize on the opportunity. However, he saw me quickly and was able to match me with his fast reaction time. I was almost out of ammo. It was now or never. Luckily, I was able to bait him into pushing forward. He was incredibly slow as he had to hold out the Barrett in case I peeked again. So I had to hit him before he reached the main area. This was a clear shot. Now this one point took 1 whole minute. 1 whole minute of two players skillfully trying to counter the other, knowing when to change areas, figuring out how to make the situation more accessible to your gun over theirs, predicting their movements, and overall quick thinking. I don't want to be egotistic or anything. I really think this displays how good each of our game sense and intelligence and arsenal is. I was just able to outlast him, and he choked, even if it was just for a split second. A lot of these situations played out in the rest of the 1v1, which is kind of why I showed this. I feel like it represents a lot of the 1v1, and it was just us trying to figure out each other, and this led to our 1v1 being nearly 35 minutes long. When we both surpassed the 20-point mark, we were practically dead even. But the Hush Pippi at 29 points really choked me up, and Tristan managed to win the match pretty unanimously at 32-29. I'd also like to quickly thank Tristan for being so extremely nice in our 1v1s, all the way from when he agreed to accept the 1v1, despite him being off the game for 1 year. Like once or twice I got 4 to 5 kill streaks on him, but he never complained or whined about anything. Even though he's the most valid person to complain about his circumstances, he had bad ping the whole match too, and not touching the game for over a year, like, dude, these are like excuses that I would probably make like a million times over every time I die. He's an awesome guy, and I'm actually glad he won the 1v1. It wouldn't have sat well with me that I hypothetically would have beaten a pro Arsenal player only because he hadn't played for a year. If this match was a year ago, he would have absolutely wiped the floor with me. Like, I do not think I would have gotten to even 10 points. So, Tristan, if you're watching this, you're an awesome guy, and thank you for taking the time to 1v1 me in Arsenal. It was really fun to play with you and get to catch up on life and stuff. Also, we 1v1 the second time, but that was less competitive to say the least. Anyways, that's it for the video. Thank you for watching me taking an Arsenal match way too seriously, then getting absolutely pummeled by a dude I never even thought of the game in the year. Also, Tristan would have beaten Tanker in an Arsenal 1v1. Goodbye.